Bully, really good conversation on Rhea Ripley, Dom, and Liv Morgan, and the realism inside and outside the ring. And you're trucking through, Bully. Here, I don't mean to use the term trucking through. I just heard that so much from The Rock during that WrestleMania 40 documentary that it's in my head. So I'm going to start using it now, make it more about me than him. But, Bully, you don't feel well here on a Tuesday, but you sounded fine in hour number one. I think you're going to be good. I think you're going to make it.
Uncle Bully will never let the Busted Open Nation down.
There you go.
There you go. Bottom line. Not especially on a Tuesday.
And I listen, I don't want to get off onto this conversation because there's so much to get into Monday Night Raw. But, you host Busted Open After Dark each and every Wednesday night. I got to tell you, man, I'm feeling good about AEW coming out of Forbidden Door and then coming off of a really hot Dynamite last Wednesday, Bully. I feel good about the direction AEW is going in, so I'm looking forward to listening to you break it all down on a Wednesday for Busted Open After Dark.
I thought last week's Dynamite was a good show. I put many things over from it, including Dr. Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné. I loved the ending of the show with the heat that MJF got on Daniel Garcia. Great opening match. Very stiff, aggressive pro wrestling match between Danielson and Pac. So there was definitely lots of good going on with Dynamite last week. Let's see how they followed up this week.
Yep, looking forward to that. And, Bully, there was so much to get into on yesterday's show with me, you, and Mark Henry because so much happened since the last time we were on the air with John Cena's retirement, Money in the Bank, and obviously that documentary. Didn't get a lot of opportunity to talk about NXT and what they were able to do on Sunday night with Heatwave. I got to tell you, Heatwave was absolutely fantastic. Maybe we could talk more about it tomorrow with Tommy coming off of what we see tonight. But to get 10,000 fans, those are numbers that we used to see with the Black and Gold brand. So congratulations to NXT. One hell of a show. One hell of a main event. And I love what they did closing off Heatwave with Joe Hendry. And then they did it last night. How about, Bully, during a commercial break, they flashed Joe Hendry during a commercial break. So, man, if that doesn't make you want to tune into NXT tonight, I don't know what will.
I think before the end of the year, or whenever these contracts are up, you're going to see Joe Hendry and Jordan Grace in an NXT ring.
It's very, very possible. But Bully, I think you would agree that this relationship that TNA and NXT has right now, it's working because Joe Hendry, who is a TNA talent, may be the most over professional wrestler right now in 2024.
Joe has done a phenomenal job on his own, getting his name out there with the music that he was writing and the amount of downloads that he got. He's doing a great job with his character on the microphone and the appearances that he's been making. As I said last week, there's still a little something missing with Joe. I believe it's his in-ring. Not that Joe is bad in the ring. There just needs to be another level to Joe in the ring. I don't think Joe has been in the ring with the right heel yet. I don't think Joe has been in the ring with the heel that can bring out that inner warrior in Joe Hendry. Joe's a nice guy. He plays instruments. We have to bring something out of him. He has to be in there with a brooding heel who can make him fight back. It's not about wrestling moves and it's not about singing. It's about balling your hand up into a fist and fighting back. And I think that's what they need for Joe Hendry. They need to get him in the ring with a great heel.
Yeah, but you know what Joe Hendry is? This is a great foundation for Joe Hendry. I think that will happen at some point, but now his name is out there. People are asking the question that may not even know, who the hell is this Joe Hendry? Who is he? What's this face that keeps flashing? You're seeing signs everywhere for Joe Hendry and believe in Joe Hendry. I mean, we're seeing, on the sides of highways, billboards for Joe Hendry. That's going to, I believe that's going to happen, Bully, but But what they've been able to do is get his name where now people are curious, and hopefully they're going to tune in to NXT and TNA to find out who Joe Hendry is.
Joe Hendry is getting over.
There's no doubt about it. All right, speaking about that, who did you think, and you kind of posed the question on social media after Monday Night Raw last night, who do you believe won the war of words from Monday Night Raw last night with CM Punk and Seth Rollins?
I gave the edge to Seth.
I agree with you 100%.
Okay. Yep.
I agree
gave
with you
the
100%.
edge to Seth. I felt like Punk even might have gotten lost once in the promo. It can happen to anybody. It's not that big of a deal, but you don't expect it to happen to Punk. But yeah, I thought Seth did very well last night up against Punk. Not necessarily. And with me, it's not ever about. Most of the time, it's not about the words. It's about how you have made me feel with the words, the tone, the inflection, the volume, the believability in your voice. And Seth did that last night. And Punk did come off like a bit of a douche nozzle, especially
he did.
Especially when he went for the apology. And then, go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
No, that's what assholes do. Assholes do that, where you get the apology and then there's a but.
A but, right.
I mean, that to me, like, it's so funny because we were having the discussion, Bully, and you're kind of like the voice of reason, and Mark Henry and I were on the other side, where it's like, God, he's doing this to Drew and he's doing this to Drew. What the hell did Drew do to have this kind of hatred? What did Drew do to Punk where, Punk is doing this to him time and time again? And then I mentioned Sam Roberts texted me. He's like, what are you talking about, Dave? Drew did this to Punk. Drew did that to Punk. It's deserved. But here's what I'll say. A lot of that from Drew McIntyre was reactionary. It's hard, Bully, to judge CM Punk just on this storyline alone. It's impossible. There's so much baggage, Bully, with CM Punk from his last stint in the WWE to everything that happened in AEW. CM Punk wears that on his sleeve. It's impossible to just judge CM Punk like on this storyline with Drew McIntyre alone. And for those who didn't realize it, Seth Rollins reminded you of it last night. CM Punk isn't just about this story with Drew. It's all this other shit that we've had to deal with CM Punk. And it's so funny because Seth went out there and, Seth played into the crowd at the entrance ramp a little bit, but I think this was more of the Seth Rollins, Bully, that we want to see more of, where he's more like, I'm not dancing around and I'm not playing up to the fans. I'm pissed, and now I'm going to direct why I'm angry to you, CM Punk. I thought he did that last night. And he hit Bully. I thought Seth hit Punk with some reality last night about not just what he did at Money in the Bank, but all the shit that he continues to keep doing. How Punk continuously makes it about him. He made it about him in his match with The Undertaker. He made it about him in his match with John Cena. He made it about him in AEW. He made it about him when there was MJF's return in AEW. And he made it about him here so far when he's back with the WWE. Even when he's injured and he's not in the ring, he's making it about him. And how it really screwed up Seth. Like, mind your business. This isn't about you. This is a world championship match. You're not even in this match, but yet you had to get involved. And then, like you just said, Punk's like, you know what? Honestly, I hear where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming from. And this is what bothers me, Bully, is that when Punk was saying about the McIntyre situation, he goes to Seth and he's like, Seth, you got to understand. He made it personal. He mentioned my wife. He mentioned my dog, what he did with the bracelet. And Seth was like, you know what? After everything that you've done to me, I can understand where you're coming from, Punk. I understand it. And that's when Punk comes with the apology and the but. Like, fucking A, man. Seth actually opened himself up to CM Punk, but CM Punk then opens himself up, but then he's got a knee in the balls like he did to Seth last night. That's why, it's hard for me to be on Punk's side.
It's so
because he's an asshole.
It's so interesting how you just talked about opening himself up. I screen capped a meme or a picture last night that says, showing your emotions to people is like bleeding next to a shark. And last night, that's exactly what happened. You showing your real emotions, but then all of a sudden, here comes Punk with that frickin' zinger just to send it in. It's like I'm sorry, as you said it. He's a complete asshole for saying it. I'm sorry, but I'm not really sorry. Here's the thing that is very interesting to me. Over the past couple of months, we have seen Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins hit CM Punk between the eyes with the truest of the truth and the most real of realities. Yes or no?
Yes.
Does it stick to Punk?
No. It's like Punk's Teflon.
Yep.
Mark Henry said it best last night. He can go and take a shit in the ring and people will cheer.
Nothing is sticking. So what are they going to have to do to make people understand that Punk is this asshole, douche, snarky, whatever word you want to attach to him, and turn on him? It ain't going to happen.
It's not. I mean, perfect example is last night. Seth Rollins, everybody loves cheering Seth Rollins. They love singing along to his entrance. But when Seth was face-to-face with Punk last night, those fans were chanting CM Punk. They're definitely picking, not only did they pick Punk over McIntyre, which was the easy route, but they're picking Punk over Seth Rollins too.
They like the guy. Everything that Punk has done has resonated with the fans. I don't think that they've ever forgotten the pipe bomb. I think that they love the fact that Punk came back from AEW. He's a big star. He says things that other people are afraid to say. I don't think the WWE Universe is going to be willing to turn their back on CM Punk unless CM Punk does something absolutely heinous to somebody that the universe loves.
And
when it comes to Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins, do they truly love these guys? They love to sing Seth's song, but do they love Seth?
I've kind of been on the fence about that because you're right. But at the same time, Seth is such a big part of the WWE culture for such a long time. I think they honestly love Seth because of the ride that he takes them on. And he's been doing it for years. But Punk's on a different level. Bully, I love Punk for what Punk gives to our show, Bully. CM Punk, for the entire 15 years that this show has been on the air, even when he was out of the ring for 10 of them, he's always given us something to talk about. Punk is one of those guys that is so polarizing. In terms of music, he's like Axl Rose, where you almost got to respect the guy for being as big of a dick that he is.
I bet you if you put up a poll right now and you let the Busted Open Nation vote, who do you love more, CM Punk or Seth Rollins? I bet you go at least 60-40 Punk.
I probably go even higher than that.
There you go.
I think it would be 70-30.
There you
Punk. Go. And this is a guy who's left the WWE, went to AEW.
I think the Axl, I don't mean to interrupt you. I think the Axl Rose analogy is phenomenal. Axl's a dick.
Yes.
Axl has left people waiting for 2.5 hours before he took stage. He is a difficult person to deal with. An egomaniac, very, very selfish. I'm sure he has changed over the years, as I've heard he has, much like Punk has changed over the years. But same. People still love him. You love him because he's Axl Rose. You love him because he's CM Punk.
And it's the same thing. Like Axl Rose would storm off a stage if his glass of water was too cold. Like he would, leave in the middle of a sold out concert 10 minutes in. If somebody threw a lighter on the stage, I'm out the door. I'm gone. I don't give a shit. In Montreal, when I remember that concert with Metallica and Guns N' Roses where, James Hetfield got burned because of pyro, and they needed Guns N' Roses to come out and save the day. They came out 2 hours later and did a 30-minute set and walked out. So there was a freaking brawl in Montreal where they could have been the saviors, but Axl Rose decided to be a dick that night. Like that's who he is. And there's people that just respect the fact that he's such a dick. And I think it's the same thing with Punk. It's like, he's such a dick. He's such an asshole. You got to respect the fact that he's such an asshole because he doesn't pretend to be anything else than who he is. I understand that. I understand that line of thinking, but at the same time,
he's very, very real, and people appreciate real.
Yeah.
Listen, here's a guy who even, left wrestling, went and got his ass handed to him 3 times in MMA, and basically said, "Yep, okay, wasn't good enough to hack it over there. I'm going to come back." Like, he's been honest about a lot of things. His honesty at the press conference, horrible timing in AEW at that press conference, but he still felt like he said what he needed to say, and I think that people do respect the fact that he had the balls to do that. I mean,
there's a lot of realism to what he said, but like you said, the timing. But that's part of it, but of who he is, Bully.
And
like,
he's not, and he's not afraid to listen. Like even last night, he took a shot at AEW. All right, now whether that's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, I think the wrestling fans these days love the fact that that happens. It was very under the radar. But if you knew what he was talking about as a WWE fan or as a loyal WWE fan, you were popping because you're like, yeah, great line.
Yeah, but these are the same fans, and I'm one of them that's just like, enough of this shit already. When AEW does it, everybody's up in arms and everyone's angry. But when Punk does it, it's great. It's phenomenal. I love it. Like, it's hypocritical. But because it's Punk, he gets away with it.
People are hypocrites, though. People, Dave, for the most part, human beings are very, very flawed when it comes to selfishness, hypocrisy, lots of different things. That's why I always say I'm very proud to say that I'm a 1%er in the wrestling business. My brutal honesty, I can always look myself in the mirror and say, you're brutally honest, and whether that got you, where you needed to go or didn't get you where it needed to go, at least you were honest with everybody about everything, and I wasn't a phony. And I don't think Punk is a phony. I think he wears his emotions on his sleeve, and I think people appreciate that.
It's hard not to.
I think he has matured in watching him and in actually having a conversation or two with him. I think he's matured. Understands that the way he did business back in the day might not be exactly the right way to go about things. People change. What more is there to it?
But at the same time, in this context with Seth Rollins, here's Seth Rollins that has really done everything the right way when it comes to the WWE. He's married to one of the best female wrestlers that there are, Becky Lynch, who's loved by millions and one of the most popular superstars in the WWE. Seth Rollins has been loyal. Seth Rollins, since he's been with the WWE, is somebody who waves the flag of the WWE. And his criticism with Punk has been about what Punk said about the WWE. It starts really with the criticisms that Punk was saying when he was with AEW about the WWE. But then when things didn't work out with AEW, then you come back to the WWE and all is supposed to be forgiven. It's
happened so many times in pro wrestling.
But here's the thing, Bully. He wants all of his sins to be forgiven, but he's going to remind you about all the sins that you've made. So forgive me for all of the sins I've made, but I am damn sure to remind everybody about the sins that you made. That's where it comes. That's where Seth Rollins is. It's like, wait a second. You want everybody to forgive you, but you have no problem poking the bear when it comes to everybody else.
And that's verbiage within a promo.
Yes.
So then, is that really on Punk or on Seth?
I mean, but when you say it's a promo, there's realism to what Seth Rollins. There's a lot of
then
realism
maybe
to
Seth
what
Rollins should come back
night.
over the top with more realism. Or maybe he should say it in a way to the people where they finally go, oh, yeah, Seth, you're right. This guy is a piece of shit. So far, it hasn't. Punk has a very unique way of looking through people also. Punk makes impeccable eye contact, and he speaks with conviction. Whenever I hear Punk talk, I believe him because he believes himself. I can't say that about a lot of people, and I think people notice that about him. Sometimes we get a canned promo. What were you going to say? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, to go back to your question you asked, I don't know if there's anything that Punk can do to get the fans to turn on. And honestly, Bully, I don't know if that would be the right decision to have Punk be somebody that the fans are going to turn on. He's too beloved by the WWE Universe. He's Teflon.
Fighting City Hall, swimming upstream. People
Yes.
love CM Punk. Leave it alone. Tell your stories. Punk, like I could see like Punk saying last night when they were going over this, like they wanted Punk to apologize, and Punk said, I would never really apologize, but if I was to apologize, I would apologize in a dick kind of manner, which is what we got last night.
Well,
and Seth rolled his eyes and said, see, you can't even apologize the right way.
Because he's one of those people, Bully, and people deal with somebody like this in everyday life. When, even if they're going to admit that they're wrong, they want to prove that they're right. So in that instance last night, Punk is saying he's apologizing, but he really doesn't believe in what he's saying. He's apologizing just to save face. He's apologizing because he knows that the person across from them is hurt. So that's why he's making the apology. But he's also saying, but make no mistake, I'm right. Like, I'm apologizing, but I'm right. And that's what he basically did last night. He's apologizing just because he knows Seth Rollins is hurting right now, and it's put him in a bad position, but he wants to remind Seth and everybody else that he's right at the end of the day.
If you want to replay that audio, I felt the conviction in Punk's voice. Now, he might have said what he said afterwards, but I believe that CM Punk truly was apologizing to Seth Rollins.
Then why use the but? If you're really
because I don't like you,
then don't apologize.
I'm apologizing, but make no mistake, I don't like you. I'm sorry I put you through this. I'm sorry my mistake put you through this. But at the end of the day, I really don't give a shit.
Then don't make the apology, because the apology isn't going to be taken by the person that you're saying it to. That's just a way to clean your hands of the situation. And, well, I apologize, but you really didn't apologize because you had to throw in that uppercut at the end of the day.